Hey y'all. So I am here with the breakdown of Luke chapter 6. Let's get into this breakdown. I'm probably gonna go fast because I'm really trying to get it all in one video. Okay. The chapter context. Luke 6 completes Jesus' call for the disciples and followers that started in Luke 5. Luke 5 1 through 6:16 consists of the three calls for disciples, each paired with two revolutionary teachings about Jesus' authority that increasingly infuriate the religious leaders. Luke 6:17-49 continues the theme with a general call for followers and a description of their responsibilities. In Luke 7:1 through 8:3, Jesus interacts with others, Gentile women, men, and even the dead. This is followed by another general call, Luke 8:4 through 21, a series of miracles, Luke 8:22 through 9:17, and a final call for the 12 to follow him even more deeply, Luke 9:18 through 50. So let's get into this breakdown. Luke 6 continues with Luke's account of Jesus' Galilean ministry, Luke 4:14 through 9:50. This began with examples of Jesus' power and authority and the people of Nazareth's rejection of him, Luke 4:16 through 44. Luke continued the theme with a series of calls for the 12 to discipleship. Those were interspersed with stories of Jesus' godly but countercultural priorities, which revealed the growing resistance of local religious leaders. Luke 5. Luke 6 completes Jesus' call of the 12, then transitions to the Sermon on the Plain, a description of self-sacrifice required by those who identify with him. The chapter ends with a general call for all to build their lives on him. The first three stories in Luke chapter 6 continue the prior chapter's pattern, pairing the two models of the new way in which Jesus does ministry with a call to specific disciples. In the first example, Pharisees criticized Jesus for allowing his disciples to pluck and shuck grain heads on the Sabbath. Jesus responds by pointing out David, before he was king, took and ate bread with bread of the presence and ate the bread of the presence at the tabernacle, which was reserved only for priests. The comparison sounds meaningless without historical background, yet the Pharisees' extra scriptural law against the disciples' actions are based on the steps needed to break bread of the presence. Having proved his point, Jesus takes authority over all aspects of the Sabbath. Luke 6:1 through 5. The second story is familiar. Jesus is teaching in a synagogue on the Sabbath. The Pharisees are watching closely to see if Jesus will heal a man with a withered hand, one of the listeners. This condition might have been the result of a virus like polio, some type of disease that includes paralysis and atrophy, or perhaps even an injury. Jesus challenges the Pharisees: if the Sabbath is meant to be a blessing for people, shouldn't he have the right to bless this man? Okay. He heals the suffering man, but the Pharisees are livid and begin their machinations to destroy him. Their plans, pretty much. Luke 6:6 through 11. Jesus already had chosen Peter, Andrew, James, John, and Levi, also known as Matthew, to follow him. Luke chapter 5, verses 1 through 11, and then verses 27 through 28. After spending all night in prayer, he chooses the final 7 men who will be his apostles or disciples. It is these men, minus Judas, who will build the church. Luke 6:12 through 16. The rest of this chapter is Jesus' Sermon on the Plain. It covers much of the same information as the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew chapter 5 through chapter 7, but in condensed form. Scholars debate as to whether these were the exact same speech. Since Jesus was a traveling teacher, it's possible he presented the same broad lessons numerous times during his earthly ministry. Notably, because Luke's relationship readership is Gentile. He leaves out the part that directly references the Mosaic law. The event begins with Jesus ministering to a great multitude of people from everywhere, from Jerusalem to Tyre. They have come to be healed from diseases and freed from demons, stay to listen to Jesus' words. Luke 6:19 through 17 through 19. There we go. Where Matthew begins with a thorough list of beatitudes, Luke has a brief list and then transitions into a list of parallel woes. Jesus promises blessings to the poor, hungry, mournful, and hated, and woes to be rich, full, fortunate, and popular. Those who are persecuted for following Jesus will be blessed. Period. Those who seek public approval will be cursed. The blessings and curses will primarily be fulfilled in eternity. Luke 6:20 through 26. Luke then ties Matthew's section on retaliation and generosity, Matthew 5:38 through 42, with the section on loving one's enemies, Matthew 5:43 through 48. We're to love our enemies even when they curse us, insult us, and sue us. If we treat our enemies with the same mercy, patience, and love we do our friends, we will reflect our God who blessed us even when we are his enemies. Ooh. Luke 6:27 through 36. The sermon transitions from mercy to personal accountability. Our forgiveness of others is tied to God's forgiveness, and our generosity to God's generosity to us. Mercy and self-examination should always precede judgment. We cannot teach or correct with self-effectiveness if we haven't addressed our own sin at first. Jesus has presented a description of those who will follow him. They love their enemies and teach with integrity. Only those who have a good heart can act in such a way. A person with a good heart will be able to do these virtuous deeds, just like a good tree produces good fruit. Luke 6:43 through 45. Finally, Jesus calls the crowd to general discipleship by teaching them how to receive a good heart, build their lives on him. Anyone who accepts him as the foundation of their lives will not be shaken by the hardships of the world. They will remain strong, providing their dependence on him by obeying what he commands. Luke 6:46 through 49. Luke 7:1, chapter 7, verse 1, and then through chapter 8, verse 3 takes a sudden turn and describes Jesus' relationship with the marginalized, including women and Gentiles. He also compares his ministry with that of John the Baptist, pointing out that a godly teacher will be judged unfairly by the fallen world, no matter how righteously they live. Alright, y'all, so that is part 1. Let's get into part 2 in a new video.